I could put this on Do Not Disturb. Sorry.
Hello, hello. Sorry, I was watching it on my phone, so it's a delay, and I messed up. Sorry. One of these days we're gonna get this right. Hello, I'm Mark J. Freeman, and we are here to recap the 6th episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, Disco-mentary. Joining me today are. Who wants to go first?
Jackie.
Ollie's here. Hello, say hello, Ollie.
Hi,
Oh,
everyone.
I can't hear Ollie.
You can hear me?
Can I hear Jackie? Can
you hear me? I can hear you.
Can people in the chat room hear me? I'm guessing I don't hear.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Ollie? Yes or no?
I can hear you.
Okay, I
Can
can't
you
hear
me?
you. No.
Again, apologies to everyone. I'm checking in the chat to see if you can hear us.
There you are. There you are. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Sorry.
Oh my God, that's so weird. God, I hate technology.
Well, I think I had to mute it because the music was playing, and then I have to unmute it. So that's me. Sorry. And joining me are Ollie and Jackie. You guys want to say hello?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
And Tez will be joining us. He'll probably be popping in at some point. We just wanted to start on time because Tez has to go. So we have to be done by 4:30. So we got to do this quick. And happy Super Bowl Sunday. I do have it on here. So if you want, I'll give updates on the score if I happen to glance over.
And I just want to say thank you to all of you who are joining us and watching us instead of the Super Bowl. I didn't even know the Super Bowl was happening, so I really appreciate it.
Also, since we're thanking people, thank you to everybody who retweets us and promotes the show every Sunday, Chucky Chuck in particular. There were a couple people who I saw retweeted some of our tweets and stuff too. So thank you guys for sharing the link. Keep doing that. We're here every Sunday, 3 o'clock, recapping every episode with the live chat. So you can come talk to other people who love the show as much as we do. And we are not filtered by a production office. So we can say whatever we want and we don't have to mince words. So that's why we're better. What did you guys think of the episode overall?
I really love disco, so I was very excited to have a disco centric episode. It is a little hard though, because I understand that they can't have the rights to a bunch of disco songs. So you're getting the RuPaul version of disco. But it's funny, in our personal chat afterwards, Mark asked us what our favorite disco songs were, and it seems like we all just like went down this rabbit hole of of like listening to disco, like reminiscing about our favorite songs or albums. So I appreciate that as well for inspiring me to think about disco today.
Yeah. Ollie, what did you think overall of the episode?
I mean, I really liked the season, but I even said this like on Twitter. It was just my least favorite episode, just due to obviously who went home. It's very depressing. Like, it made me just fall in love with her even more. We'll talk about her, Tamisha Iman. So it's a little bit of a bummer just knowing next week we won't get to see her. And I don't know. I don't know where this season's headed. It sucks because obviously I'm a huge rooter of the underdogs, and everyone from the B squad, it seems like they're going home one by one, and it's so disheartening. So I hope it like picks back up, because I feel like this episode, it was really fun with the disco challenge, but yeah, I was a little bummed by the end of the episode.
Yeah. We really didn't hide the fact that I think all of us at Drag Race TV LA are big Tamisha Iman fans, and I'm waiting for the shirt that says "I said what I said." I want that shirt. I want it to happen.
I have no doubt it will happen. If she's an intelligent human being, which she is, it'll happen. Yeah, we will definitely get into more of the Tamisha stuff later, along with some news and gossip, quotes of the week, fans of the week, and stuff like that. So be sure to stick around. Previously on RuPaul's Drag Race was the second elimination of the season, after doing 3 different looks in the bag ball challenge, which got Mick won, although it's debatable. People think Utica should have won. Unfortunately, Joey J sashayed away, and Lala Ree gave us the Lala Ree experience and stayed in the competition. And then it was also the week of the Tamisha Iman and Kandy Muse explosion. So we will get to the conclusion of that explosion later in the show as well. So then, you know, at the beginning, we have them coming in after the elimination and reading everything is how, you know, the episode starts. There was some unfinished business that was discussed. Some of the arguing kind of continued. And I will point it out again. It is Olivia Lux who says, "So, how are you guys feeling about this?" She literally, and she did it again later in this episode. She's always the one that's saying, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, she is totally stirring the pot, in my opinion. Maybe she's just really good at producing on her own while being in the show. But yeah, so there was that. You know, Tamisha said at the end of the conversation, "Oh, look who's joining us." When all is said and done, she said what she said. And then Kandy, of course, was like, "I'm done with this. I want to end it," and walks away. And on Kandy's terms, it ends. And then, like you were pointed out, this whole thing with the team B being less good than the other team, and that whole thing started. Hello, Tez. Welcome.
Hello.
Tez, I love your like 70s like hair wrap, cut off shirt.
You know, it's disco night, or it was on the show.
It's very cute.
You didn't miss much. We just said hello, and I just filled them in on what happened, them coming into the workroom after Joey's elimination at the beginning of the episode.
Oh yeah.
So any I mean, I guess we could talk about too, it did kind of, I guess, come to an end in a sort of a way. So if we want to just begin with the ending of the argument between Kandy and Tamisha, it seems like time heals all wounds. Everybody seems fine. I do think a lot of Kandy's hushed mouth is because she was in the bottom. So, but what did you guys think of all that?
So sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm late, so you go ahead, Jackie.
I do think it seems like some of it was, they alluded to this in Untucked, where some of it was resolved between the two of them off screen. Mm-hmm. So I always like a come together moment where people can work out their differences, but at the same time, I think part of it is what you said, Mark, which is that Kandy, after having been in the bottom or been in the middle, you know, and this week is in the bottom, maybe realized, okay, maybe I should stop, you know, flapping my mouth so much and start to like sit back and learn. And I think she was at this point open to a teachable moment. And I also think Tamisha probably has a bit of a soft spot for where if someone is like willing to open their hearts, that she's not just going to say, okay, fuck you, you know, like, so I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah. Tez, what did you say?
So I agree. I wasn't here for last week's review or recap with you guys, but it definitely, you know, Tamisha's been doing this for years. You know, she has a whole drag family that she's a part of, a big legacy. So of course, you know, these little degenerate little, you know, mouthy type of queens she's dealt with on many levels, you know? So I think, like she said, I said what I said. I think she stood by it, but I don't think she was, you know, closed off from getting to know Kandy. I didn't think for 1 minute that she would like hate Kandy. So if you know how Kandy was just like, oh, you know, after the show, we ain't gotta be sisters. Like, that's very Kandy and very like immature like to be. And I know Tamisha was not gonna ever go to that point. So I knew that it would come to this point. I didn't know Kandy would be in the bottom immediately after the episode just happened. I thought it'd be later down the line, but I knew she would have this moment where she kind of humbled herself a little bit because, like Tamisha said, every week someone's going to be in the bottom. And so it just happened to be the next week you were in the bottom after doing all of this, you know? So.
Ollie, any?
I agree with both Jackie and Tez. Pretty much all I have to say is that I remember in the Untucked, Tamisha said, "I don't give a fuck," and she doesn't. She's mature enough. Obviously, she's been around for years. She's not going to harbor this ill will towards Kandy of all people, you know. So she's just really grown and obviously knows how to handle queen. She's probably been in this situation plenty of times. If anything, I was surprised Kandy let it go so easily, but it shows growth on, I guess, Kandy's part, since they kind of dropped it, and by the end of the episode, they, you know, mended whatever happened. So it's just a growing moment for Kandy, I think, you know.
I don't think it was a growing moment. I think she kept her mouth shut.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, no, I think she was in the bottom, so she was upset, and she knew she couldn't go off and be like, oh, I'm in the top again, blah, 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 and she couldn't get sassy, so she kept her mouth shut. So I think you're giving her way too much credit. I'm not falling for it. Sorry. So I think the most important question, which I probably should have led with, is, can I get a show of hands of who knows who Charles Nelson Riley is?
Say it again?
Who knows who Charles Nelson Riley is?
I'm not gonna lie, because it's Sunday.
No, I think I am the only person on the planet who knows who Charles Nelson.
No, it's not. I think, Mark, it's because you're a little bit older than us.
I am.
Schnooch.
Well, I will tell you who Charles Nelson Riley is, because she didn't really get into it. Just so everybody knows, he was a famous American actor and comic, very gay. He was also on the original Match game show, which is spoofed for Snatch Game. So he that's how I knew him, because he was always on that. And he did a lot of like TV and stuff when I was really young. And I was telling Jackie and Ollie this earlier, I actually got to wait on him when I first moved to LA. He came into the restaurant I worked at, and I got to sit with him and talk with him. He was very, very nice. It was like the only person I met that my mother knew who they were. So it was very exciting. So that's who Charles Nelson Riley is. He did win a Tony Award. He was the original Cornelius Hackle in Hello Dolly. So he was around for a long time. The mini challenge was because Ru says America's Next Drag Superstar must never blend into the background. They had to work in pairs and create an eye-popping designer dress with wallpaper from spoonflower.com. And to prove that the design doesn't blend in, they will be modeling in front of a wall with the same matching wallpaper. one queen will be modeling, the other would be giving fashion commentary. And the pairs were going to be their pairs for the Maxi challenge as well. Then because Mick won, she got to pick the pair that she wanted to join, which is no surprise that she picked Kandy and Tina. The other pairs were Elliott and Tamisha, Denali and Rosé, Olivia and Utica, and Simone and Lala. What did we think of the mini challenge? Let's start with Ollie.
It was fun. It was much better than the stupid baby challenge from last week. Yeah, but obviously I'm a little annoyed with the whole Mean Girls clique. It's very Relaska Talks. It's very Heather's situation. Yeah, but I'm really and I really actually like their look that they came up with as like a total advantage to have 3 people working on a look. But I'm very happy that Tamisha and Elliott ended up winning because I root for the underdog. And actually I really like their look as well. Like to be able to create that look and them looking busted at the same time. It's very funny. So I'm really happy that Tamisha and Elliott were able to show everyone that it was just like a win for them, which they haven't like really experienced a whole lot during their time on Drag Race.
Yeah. Jackie, what'd you think of it?
I'm going to piggyback off of what Ollie said. I totally think that Tamisha and Elliott deserve the win because it's not just the outfit. It's the fact that they brought in Tiger King and they were making these like Tiger King jokes that I thought were really funny. And not just that it was funny, but it was also topical. We kind of remember Tiger King as the beginning of the pandemic. So they're making these jokes that are very relevant to now. So I appreciated that as well. And I like a good quick drag challenge. So I appreciate, anytime the queens have to make an outfit very quickly. And I know that we've seen I don't think we've actually seen a wallpaper challenge. I know that we've seen different versions of the quick drag or different versions of like make your outfit very quickly kind of and sell something. I don't think we've seen wallpaper, so that was exciting for me too to have something different as far as the quick drag challenge.
Tez, any thoughts on the mini challenge?
I am glad that Elliott and Tamisha won, as Ollie said, but I didn't think they would have because Elliott was so Elliott, when she was, the outfit and everything was nice, but I felt like she was, I don't know, like she really didn't have any presence. Like, maybe she was acting. Maybe that's part of her what she was trying to give. And I feel like Tamisha she like were giving the jokes, but the jokes weren't delivered as, I guess, confident as I felt like. It's almost like she was a little unsure. So I was surprised that they won. I thought that they wouldn't have. I didn't know who would have won that. I honestly thought they would have just gave it to Kandy just because, but I'm glad that they didn't. And just as I mentioned, what's her name? Lala Ree. Oh my gosh. I do not like seeing Lala Ree in half drag and not. I'd rather see her in full drag because it's just never a really good sight. So I just thought
one of my friends said in half drag that she looked like Shaq, and I was like,
funny.
It just looks very wrong. I don't like it.
I liked their look the best, Tamisha and Elliott's. I liked what they did with the time given. I thought they did the best look. I agreed that Elliott didn't. I like you were saying. I was like, is she doing this on purpose, or does she really genuinely not know what to do?
Yeah.
Because I find it hard to believe that she doesn't know how to just ham it up and model something. So I think it might have been a choice she made. But I was glad they won, regardless. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a cute idea. I like the idea of that. The reason behind it is that America's Next Drag Race superstar shouldn't blend in to the wall and stuff like I thought it was a cute setup for it. So I liked that about it.
That wallpaper was hella cute too.
Yeah.
Like shout out to a new sponsor too.
Yeah. Spoonflower.com if you want some wallpaper. They're not paying us, by the way.
We're all buying wallpaper and Coach bags, you guys.
Yes, which I'm still waiting for someone to send me a Coach bag from last week. People.
I have one in storage. You can have it.
Wallpaper or a Coach bag?
Coach bag.
Both, actually.
I don't want to wrap this in wallpaper. I will tell you this, Tez. I'll make you this promise. When Lorayne Love is on Drag Race, you are never going to see Lorayne looking like Lala on a mini
Yeah. I don't like that. And I didn't like, I was like, this is, you know, and why?
Respect for my audience, I wouldn't do that to anybody.
Yeah.
So then the Maxi Challenge is a documentary about the beat that defined a generation of liberation, disco. They had to learn choreography and embody the spirit of disco. And I purposefully said that out loud because I do think that they were really, truly, if you're bitching about the tops and bottoms, I think they really leaned into embodying the spirit of disco for the criteria. So, and each team had to cover a different chapter. I'll read off the chapters. Kandy, Tina, and Gottmik did the birth of disco. Elliot and Tamisha did disco and sex. Denali and Rose did disco fashion. Olivia and Utica did Studio 54. Simone and Lala did disco sucks. They worked with choreographer Miguel Zarate. First thoughts about it, I guess. Let's do first thoughts when we got paired up and they got, I thought, oh, let me just say this before I'll kind of give you guys something to talk about. I felt like when they were reading off the categories, I felt it like a little strategic in the producing end of it. Did you guys feel any way about that? Ollie, you're kind of nodding.
I completely agree. They're like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Give this to that too, you know. So I have nothing else to say other than I agree.
Yeah, Jackie, did you sense any of that, or is that like, am I saying something that you're like, oh, I never thought of that?
I don't think that way about the categories. I thought that way more about the choreography. But I think that, you know, they know who's a good dancer and who's not a good dancer. So I think they make the choreography match that. So for people like Rose and Denali, who know more about dancing, and Elliot and Tamisha, they made it tougher, you know, than I think. I mean, I kind of don't agree with Tina Burner being in the top simply because I feel like that group got easier choreography because they saw that group and thought, we should probably give them easier choreography. So that's my only, I mean, Tina was amusing to watch, but did she give me more than Lala? I don't think so. So there's certain things where I'm like, the choreography could have helped or hampered you in certain areas, depending on what group you were in.
Yeah, Tez, any thoughts?
I didn't think that there was any, you know, anything, because I honestly, reading off those categories, I didn't really understand where she was going with the categories anyway. Like, I know a little bit about disco, but the history I may not be so inclined to know. But I can see if it was like kind of how they did the shared challenge and like, or the Madonna, like there you can clearly understand what the differences were. But for this, even when Ru was explaining it in the actual part, you know, of the show, and I was kind of like, I didn't see any differences. Now, like the props and stuff like that, like the hula hoops and the things like that. When once we got to see it and they were like practicing it, I just didn't. I didn't think it was I don't know how they did. I think it was randomized, honestly. In my eyes, I don't think, because the hula hoop, you know, is just this, and to say, you know, with Tamisha and Ellie being better dancers, they rarely even dance. They kind of just use the hula hoop for a prop, you know, more than just actual choreography. I felt like, or dancing choreography, I'll say.
Yeah. I don't know, because my first thought when I heard, I mean, I'll just say it, I felt like giving Elliot and Tamisha disco and sex. I kind of went, interesting. And then when we got to the main stage and they were rehearsing and they were like hula hoops.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, what does this have to do with
what? Yeah, what does sex have to do with hula hoops?
That's where
maybe I'm missing out on something.
Yeah, Well, maybe there's something with hula hoops and disco that I didn't learn in the first 7 years of my life. But that's when it felt contrived to me. It just seemed, I don't know. I just got a weird feeling. Like from the moment they said disco and sex, I just had like a weird feeling. Let me ask you guys this. What is your favorite disco song?
Pick me.
Go first.
I love disco. But I feel kind of bad because my picks are such like stereotypical or classic disco. The first things that came to my mind when you think of disco, you think of I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor, you think of the Bee Gees, you think of Donna Summer. And I think my favorite Bee Gees song is Staying Alive, but I generally think of the album to Saturday Night Fever, because that, they became huge on that album. Mm-hmm. And then Donna Summer, I was trying to pick a Donna Summer song, and I was like, I should just go and look at all her discography and try and figure out what my favorite song was. And y'all, it was really hard. Probably Hot Stuff is my favorite song of hers, but there was even stuff because I was born in the 80s. So there was stuff of hers that goes into the 80s that I even like. So I was having a very hard time picking out which Donna Summer song would be my favorite.
She actually had an album come out in like the late 90s too.
Yeah. I mean, I think she even had one later than that. I mean, she was still releasing music periodically up until she died.
Mm-hmm. Tez, do you have any disco favorite songs?
My favorite is Ring My Bell.
Yeah.
Because when I was, this years old, and I knew I was going to be a blossom into a young woman, I love that song. And so that always comes to mind. I love others. Like I love Funky Town. I think that was actually one of like the sampled songs in the show for this episode. But those are my two favorites that I would mention.
Okay. Ollie, any disco favorites? I know you weren't even a glimmer in anybody's eye then.
Well, I'm the opposite of Jackie. I'm not too big on disco, but my mom would listen to the Bee Gees a lot. So you brought up the Saturday Night Fever album. So I really liked Night Fever by the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't even have to like disco to like really get into that song. I just think it's a really classic song. And of course, like growing up, that movie would be on TV and you'd see like sexy ass John Travolta. Like when
that movie, I watched it again recently. That movie is such nonsense. It's like the plot is bullshit. The whole thing, you just want to see John Travolta dance and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I just Googled like top 100 disco songs and went through those. Hot Stuff for sure. Donna Summer, I can remember listening it on my grandmother's old 8-track. Google that if you want to know what an 8-track is. September, Earth, Wind and Fire is like a classic, like song like that. We used to, I didn't listen to it in the 70s. I listened to it when I was in college at the bars. Village, anything Village People. Dancing Queen, ABBA is actually.
Oh my gosh. That is disco. That is one of my favorites.
And Le Freak is another one that I really like. So we covered them all. Just wanted to touch on that because it was brought up and everybody talked about it. And they're saying in the chat room what a disaster it was for Tina when she put her on the spot and she was like getting everything. It's like, girl, just say the song. Like, don't try to like impress anybody. Like it was bad. It was pathetic. But
I do think, in fairness, for me, sometimes, not defending Tina not knowing who originally sang I Will Survive, but some of the questions they ask, I might not necessarily know the actual like name of a song, but I can hum it to you.
Yeah.
So there were times, not just this episode, but previous episodes where Ru walked into the workroom and was like, can you think of this song or that song or whatever? And I'm like, I might not actually know the name of them. Like a lot of the Donna Summer songs, I didn't actually know the actual name of the song, which some of them are pretty obvious, but I can sing them for you because I remember just like being in a club and listening to that song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much I'm gonna be penalizing people for who haven't had their cell phone for months to like remember that stuff.
Well, and even someone saying too, Kandy saying, bringing up the Pussycat Girls song, and that's her idea of disco is a song that is mixed into a Pussycat, whatever. I get it. They're all young. They're young peeps. But I will say this because, I'm always all about a little history lesson about educating people. So I'm glad that she did it. I'm glad that they talked a lot about why disco was so revolutionary. I'm glad all the stuff that Ru said in the workroom about rock and roll and how, just disco dancing was such a, thing, it's important. It's important for people to go. And, you can, again, put down the old people that have been in there, but it's because of them. It's because of disco that a lot of this is even possible today. So just keep them in check. Somebody else said this in the chat room. I do have it in my notes, that it was Olivia Lux, again, in the workroom, who tells Utica to tell Tina that the wig makes her look little.
That's so interesting. It's so interesting that she would give advice about a wig, but she did say that.
Well, I'm not even talking about the advice on the wig. I'm just saying that Olivia keeps stirring the pot and encouraging people to argue and fight, and nobody, maybe next week, maybe the week after, somebody will bring it up and say, oh, it's interesting, Olivia, you keep stirring the pot. But I just want to say, for the record, because I've been pointing them out before, and I will continue to point them out, that she's stirring the freaking pot.
Well, I don't know, I don't know how much of, not necessarily in that scenario, because I felt like that was a very authentic situation. But when they're set up for these untucked situations and they're saying, what did you think about blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I think that a little bit of that is the producer kind of, each producer might have a couple of queens that's like their group of queens. So I feel like you have the producers going to these queens asking like, well, who would think about saying this? Or what do you think about this? And like, eventually one person is like, okay, I'll just say it, So some of me wonders, is Olivia just like game to say some of the stuff that the producers are asking her to ask?
I could understand that, but it does seem like it's always Olivia. She's like the most constant person to do it. Not saying anyone else is, but she is. And I don't think she's being messy. I wouldn't even call her because she's not a bone carrier. She's not getting this and going to this. She's just asking the questions that like something happened. Let's just put it out on the table. So what so what really happened here? Or what how do you feel about this? So I mean, I don't think she's messy. I think she just likes she just knows how to, I guess, stir it a little bit and get it going, which is a good quality to have, in my opinion. You put it in there, you just kind of you dip out, you run out, like, okay, you sit back and let it go, and watch and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I said it could be producers, but I'm going to keep pointing it out because it seems to keep happening. So, somebody in the chat room has said Disco Duck as their favorite song. You guys are probably too young to even know Disco Duck. Somebody says their disco knowledge is anything that Glee covered.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it is what it is. And since we're talking about our favorite disco songs, Jayla did text our group and said that her favorite was Take Your Time by SOS Band, if you wanted to know Jayla's favorite disco song. Winston Montgomery. Then we also find out in preparing for the challenge in the confessional, Tamisha talks about it in the confessional, she never talks about it in the room, that she's actually been working with an ostomy bag that she has because of her cancer and her cancer treatment. And she said that she hadn't told anybody, that she just wanted to, she's just saying it to let people know so that they, later in the Untucked, then she says, she did that because she wants people to see that you can do these things even with challenges and they should push forward, and which I thought was a great message. And I don't think that she was saying it like for sympathy or as an excuse or anything like that. I think she genuinely just wanted people to know, to kind of encourage them. I think just because like she's a drag mother, that's just kind of in her nature. But yeah, that was interesting to know. I mean, I just kept thinking like, to be in drag and then to have to deal with that on top of everything else, like, Jiminy.
You're dancing with a hula hoop and then I can't pronounce it, but you know,
ostomy bag.
Ostrich, oxtails, whatever.
But like to be in drag and you're like, I'm falling apart because of cancer things.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to you.
Yeah. My best friend is a nurse and he was watching it. He was saying that the fact there are people that have that and they can't even really walk. So, you know, for her to be able to be on the show, tipping down the runway and dancing and doing all of what she's doing, basically, like that's pretty amazing. So yes.
Sorry, my chihuahua does not want to lay down. Jackie, you guys were talking about this too. I don't know if we're getting into like the actual performance of the disco-mentary. I just, you know, looking at it, I don't know that Rosé and Denali had the hardest choreography. It was the most like choreographed dance, but after all was said and done, I didn't think it was that hard. I don't know. Like,
who do you think had the hardest? If you had to, if there was a like difficulty,
I mean, I've danced. I've done, you know, musical. I hosted a choreographer's ball, and so I would get choreographed into numbers and stuff. I have to say, working with props is a pain in the butt. It's adding a whole nother level on top. It's not like just moving your feet. It's moving your feet and using this prop and timing, like, you know, hooking each other and doing this. Like that to me seemed a lot harder. And even with the flags, you know, and if the flag doesn't go right, then it messes you up and stuff like that. Like, to me, that seems like adding a whole nother level. And I feel like if you're going to do it for two of the groups, they should have done it for all the groups. It should have been all or nothing. Like, I don't think some of them should have had props and some of them not.
Well, I guess, are we talking about the entire challenge itself?
Yeah.
So I'll give my opinion like 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the challenge, honestly, watching it and I love dancing, because I felt like it was rushed. Like you would have somebody come out, they'll perform for like maybe 30 seconds and then, or less, and then they run off. And it's like, you got RuPaul narrating and this is like, okay. I just didn't really, it didn't stick with me. And then performance-wise, like they gave Tina, consider her to be in the top. I would not have agreed with that. I thought she was very spastic, very just like, this, I don't know, I didn't like it. And who else? I thought Denali and Rosé I don't think they were winner worthy, because I don't really think anybody really won, if honestly, like even Olivia, I thought she did well, but watching it again, I mean, nobody just gave it to me, in my opinion. If there would have been a winner, I would have never thought it would have been Olivia. I honestly didn't know who it would have been. And as far as Tamisha, I think the only reason why she ended in the bottom wasn't that she couldn't dance, is that she just fumbled. She messed up and she could not recover with the hula hoop. So I don't know. The challenge was weird. I didn't really like the challenge overall. I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. Jackie, you were nodding when he was talking about Tina.
If I could sub Tina out and put in Lala, I felt that I really, really loved Lala's performance.
Yes.
And so it was very shocking to me that she was not in the top. So, and Tina was entertaining to watch, but I think Lala was doing things that were more engaging to me. I felt like I felt like Tez felt, where it was kind of like spastic and repetitive. You know, I felt like it was a passing performance. It wasn't a top 3 performance. And I did see where, and I agree with Tez here too, where it's like you did see Tamisha kind of getting in her head, and I think maybe that has to do with her, you know, her issues with the Ostamanana bag. Yeah, it has. I mean, it's like you're dealing with, you have issues because you have cancer, so, or had cancer. So I could see where a very vigorous dance with a hula hoop would put you in your head, and you're like, it read on her face where she was going through the moves, but she's thinking, at what point am I going to bottom out, you know? So, and that kind of read on her face. And I felt bad for that, because you're rooting for this person who has been through so much just to get to Drag Race.
Ollie, any thoughts on the disco?
Yeah, I mean, I really like that they incorporated disco for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, in Drag Race. I could be wrong, but it was like a musical. It was a musical without, you know, the lyrics or the whatever. And obviously, as Tez said, RuPaul was narrating it. But I didn't like how they graded it. You know, if obviously they're taking not only the performances into consideration, but also the looks of the runway. And also, it was interesting that they were like grading the looks in the performance, which they never do. I don't know if anyone caught that. They were like, I'm also biased because I'm a huge Utica stan, and they were like, oh, Utica's thing, she would never be let into Club 50 or whatever, you know, something along the lines of that. And so I'm like, why are we grading the looks? Like, you guys never do this in like a musical, or, you know. And then, I don't know, it was just a weird challenge, I guess. I didn't hate it, but then something that caught on to me was like, I think Olivia said this in Untucked, it wasn't like a dancing challenge. This was like a feeling challenge. And I guess this is a really soft spot for Ru, because Ru, clearly, disco is Ru's life. It's Ru's influence, inspiration growing up.
I almost wish, hearing both you and Tez, I almost wish, do you guys remember that All-Stars challenge with where they would like make like a club, the Club 96?
Yeah.
I almost wish each team could make their own like disco club. I know that sounds weird, but I felt like you guys, like, this is too rushed, or there wasn't enough time given to it, or something like that.
I just don't understand what they were like. What were they grading on? Because like Ollie said, it was obviously, it was, you know, attire, but then it's like, you know, it's not, if it's not really about dance, I mean, how do you really embody disco other than, you know what I'm saying? It just, I didn't understand. Like, I didn't really get how they were grading, or how they said who was the best, because honestly, everybody just did what they had to do. And the only thing that was their choice was for them to pick the attire. But, you know, this whole basic thing is very like hypocritical to me, because I feel like sometimes some girls are considered basic, and there are girls that come out with something similar, and it's basic, but they're not calling it out. So I don't agree with that.
That Mick was wearing almost the exact same thing that Kandy was wearing.
Yeah, I was very shocked, you know, that they said that about Kandy. I was like,
well, not the yet, Jacque.
Because I was like, don't get me started. We're getting to the runway.
I know. We got to calm down, Jacque.
I was so mad.
She was wearing a red jumper like Kandy was in the challenge. And, you know, and I will say, you know, I always say that, like, I don't think they should really be judged on like quality of it. I don't mind them saying it, like, if it's for the runway, you're on the runway technically by yourself. When you're in a group challenge, you are seeing yourself compared to these other people on stage that are doing Afro puffs and all these other things, and adding this fringe and things to their costumes to make it a little bit more. And, you know, Mick knows how to sew. And I said this before when there was another little group of people when Vanjie kept coming out in leotards. And I was like, you have your little group and they know how to sew. Have them whip you up something to add to it, like to add another layer to get so that you don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like sometimes people get so, I mean, again, I'm not there. I don't know what it's like. I don't know how rushed they are. I don't know. But it's like, I agree. I know what you're saying, Tez. And I will say, for all the talk about also and they kept saying Tina Burner was wearing a dress. That was not a dress. It was a leotard with fringe on it. So
definitely.
Someone doesn't like leotards and she thinks it's an easy out, but this time she liked it because it had fringe on it. So that's on, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's picking and choosing what they want to say, when they need to, you know, raise somebody up or bring somebody down. And it just, frustrating. Any other things for the challenge, or we'll get into the runway?
Let's get into the runway.
All right, let's get into the runway.
I will say though, I did think that Olivia won the challenge. I mean, I feel like she was the one that I was watching the most.
Yeah.
She was so enthusiastic. You know, that sort of, they talk about on the show, the it factor. She was very engaging to watch and you couldn't take your eyes off of her. So, I mean, I am glad that she won, so.
Let me just read some of these comments too, because they're talking about the disco challenge in the chat room too. And, you know, and again, we didn't really discuss this, is, you know, I get that Tina Burner likes red and yellow, but I'm just so over it. And I feel like it's
McDonald's. I don't get it. It's McDonald's.
I just don't get, like, and we'll get into the runway, we're about to, but like, it's a little black dress challenge. That doesn't mean you add red and yellow to it to make, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, So someone said that she's ruining their favorite color because their favorite color is yellow. Their favorite color is yellow.
Mine is orange, and I'm like, okay, Tina.
Yeah.
I don't like. Yeah.
My favorite color is not McDonald's, so.
It just makes me want McDonald's. Seeing her every
You're
week.
like,
I'm like,
give me a Big Mac, Tina Burner. What are you doing?
McNuggets.
And someone else, someone in here, let me, Awesome Guy 101, I like the name, says, I really hope Drag Race keeps doing more history challenges. I am right there with you, 1,000%, 1,000%. I really hope they do. Chucky Chuck felt like Utica was set up to fail in this episode. Adrian Celeste says, the first three started out rough, then each performance gets a little better as you watch. In my opinion, Rose and Denali were robbed of being in the top. So, I mean, it seems like everybody's kind of agreeing. You know, just before I go to the runway, let me just say this, because I wanted to say this because I said it in the intro of the challenge. I really think, looking back, because I really paid attention the second time I watched it, I think they were just looking at that part of the challenge, which was to embody the spirit of disco. And I think looking back, Olivia, I mean, she was just in it and just really, and like, whether her moves were great, whether it was amazing choreography or anything, I felt like she did. I felt like, compared to Kandy and Mick, Tina stood out. I don't know if that made her one of the top, but I think she stood out of that group. So I think that that's kind of what elevated her, because she was being compared to those two that were such Debbie Downers for an opening part of the show. And then who was the other top?
It was Tina and Elliott.
And Elliott too is an amazing, like, I was watching Elliott the whole time the first time.
Elliott she did good. She did well.
Kept going to her. I think if her runway was a smidge better, I think Elliott would have won that. But I think the runway kind of, not that Olivia's was amazing anyway.
I was just going to say that Olivia's runway. So I just want to point out, and I noted this down because I had to watch it a couple times. Olivia had silver-studded heels with, I believe, gold-studded panels on the dress. And I don't think anyone saw that. Michelle Visage is very good at watching things, and maybe my eyes wrong, but I know what I saw. I saw what I saw. And I just was like, I don't know how no one called this out. I feel like they love to, get onto details, but this runway, I would say, is probably one of the worst. The theme itself.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the theme. I just thought.
But why wouldn't you have a disco theme? You just had a disco episode.
It could have been.
Rumor has it that there was a disco runway, but it got pulled and this was replaced.
Well, you know, a disco runway would have been repetitive to the challenge because they already brought those looks for that. So I can see them. But maybe she could have said like, you know, big hair or afros and hoes. I don't know, something.
Right.
Afros
Or
and hoes. That is my new
right.
favorite runway.
It could have been like at least give it like a 70s runway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just feel like everyone's dress looked like it came from David's Bridal or Dillard's. No one had any. I mean, I'll commend Kandy because Kandy actually had a concept. Mm-hmm. Everyone else just came with something from the closet with an additional beads added or something. Like no one. And got Mick. I mean that is just, to me, that is evident. They are forcing her to us, and it's so unfair because even with that, she did not look appealing to me. It just was no. I get it, a black dress on your body parts, but no, I was not here for it.
Here's my mini rant on Mark. Can we go to the runway? Are we there?
Laura's yours. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
It's black dress. Judges Lonnie Love, she's back. Michelle and Carson, go.
Oh, sorry.
Gottmik. And I am someone who has been rooting for Gottmik from the beginning. You look at her Instagram and you know what she's capable of. So that's why I find it incredibly lazy that this person who is like a makeup Svengali, a person who you know can put on the most beautiful outfits, just goes and relies on her body and says, I'm going to put a dress on my crotch. To me, that is laziness. And it's just as lazy as the outfit that she constructed from last week, which looks like a bunch of plastic bags tied together. You have a gorgeous body. We know that. We understand that you have a gorgeous body. But what we want to see, what we came here to see, was you making the awesome, amazing outfits that we see you do on Instagram. So that, I mean, I'm like not only mad because this is another situation where you have a queen relying on the fact that they have a really beautiful body, but you know, you see this person on Instagram and you have these high like expectations of what their outfit is going to be, and they come out in an outfit that's not an outfit. It's just pretty much you being like, I look gorgeous naked. Yeah, we know you do. So, you know, like we've known that. Just make an outfit because that's what we're here for, you know?
Yeah.
Stop relying on that body. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Valentina. And I love Gottmik. I totally support
and
Gottmik.
I love Gottmik. This is me saying I feel disappointed as a fan because I wanted to see Gottmik do an outfit. And it's like, I know you have a gorgeous body. I just think you should make an outfit because that's what we want.
Well, you know, it reminded me a lot of season 9 with the Madonna challenge when Valentina was like naked. Remember that?
She wore the little thingies.
Yeah. So like, yeah, in a sense it's creative, but also it's like you want to see an actual look. You want to see a garment. You want to see something that's show-stopping. And like you said, Jackie, it's like, you know what she's capable of. Why wouldn't she take the time to do something? And I agree with Tez. Like, and I think a lot of it, I can speak for everyone here. This was kind of like a lazy, not a lazy challenge. It was just not a challenge that I particularly was excited for, you know, because there were some looks that were just like, but also the category is little black dress. So like, how creative can you get with little black dress?
Yes, I agree.
So it is a little difficult to really like, now you're just like Elliot was red for her look, which I thought was gorgeous, but it's like, oh my God, like it's so basic, but it's a little black dress challenge. How like, what are you asking for? So like for me, my favorite of the week was Denali. I think Denali should have been the top because of her performance. Maybe it wasn't like completely disco, but also her look. So we're grading them on looks. We're grading them on the performance. I do not think Tina should have been. I agree with you guys. So I loved her look because it was a little black dress and it was creative. So I don't know. To me, it was the most creative out of, you know, making this runway where we're kind of like pulling teeth. You know, I just don't know what the judges want in this particular. I didn't know what they wanted in this episode, so it was just a little confusing to watch as it went on.
Yeah. I'm going to read a couple of things in the chat room in regards to this that I think are important to point out. Jappel says, and I was something I was going to say, so Jappel's taking the words out of my mouth. someone Kandy or Lala's size could have never done what Gottmik did and got away with it. Then someone else, Prince in Porto says, but it is impactful to the trans community, what she did. Someone else pointed out that it's, or the same person, sorry, Prince of Porto also says to be confident in their scars, that's why it's important for her to do that. And, you know, and then Chuck also says, not everything about Mick needs to be trans community. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, it's this situation where it's a first, you know, for the show. So they want to represent the trans community. They want to do all this stuff to help elevate them. And I think it's great. I think her just being on the show is a step forward. I agree with you, Jackie. I think it's a cop-out. And I think that if, again, like, I feel like she gets away with stuff because she's little and tiny and has this cute little body, and somebody else who, like, you know, puts on something else that might be a bigger size, puts on something little like that, they're like, well, why aren't you corseted? And it just looks weird because you've got a boy body, but then a girl dress. And you know what I mean? Like, there's always these excuses they can come up with when it's the opposite. So it just seems a little, again, it's all picking and choosing. Like, and we get this every year. We have these same conversations that they're picking and choosing, you know, which ones to elevate and which ones to not. And
I just want to be clear, my issue is not, oh, you're not wearing boobs. Like, Mick has said before that she feels confident because she, you know, was able to have the chest surgery to make her look the way she looks. And I think that's wonderful. Like, I love that. But Mick has had outfits that have highlighted that chest surgery without feeling lazy. You know what I'm saying? So you can have outfits where you highlight the fact that you're feeling so great and so confident about how you look without just saying, I'm just coming out naked, you know?
Yeah. Some other ones I think we should talk about is Rosé's disgusting whatever.
It's the same outfit we've seen like for 3 weeks.
Someone take the tool away from her. It's the tool. If she has Tool on another outfit, I'll be really upset. And I really like Rosé, but that was really bad. That was so
bad. Face, if you are listening on audio, you need to come in and just check in at this time point. And
we're about an hour in. We're about an hour in.
He is not. We're not having it. We're not.
No, I kind of disagree with you, Ollie. Sorry. I feel like Denali is so like just looking through the drag Rolodex and pulling out something every week that we've seen 1,000 times. Like, it's a black challenge. Oh, I'm gonna do a spider and I'm gonna put spider webs. Like, it just seems like I'm gonna be a mummy. I'm gonna be the day of the dead. You know what I mean? Like, she hasn't done mummy. I was just throwing that out there as something that I've seen 100 times. But, you know, I just don't get it. Like, and her reveal wasn't even like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that she took her hat off. I didn't see anything.
There was supposed to be black dot. She had, and I guess because she's the spider and they have dots on their head. I didn't really get it, but and I didn't think that it was well crafted either. I feel she looked really crafty to me. Like, she just doesn't look. I don't know.
I liked it. I was more inspired by that look than some of the other looks in this particular challenge.
I think it was. Go ahead.
I loved Utica Queens. I didn't even need to know that it was her earring. As soon as she walked out, I was 1,000% in it. I just thought it was so well, because it was kind of like, well, what am I going to do with a black dress to make it? And her thing wasn't to change the dress, but to change everything around the dress. So that's how I took that as. So I thought it was very creative personally, but that's me. But you all are disagreeing, so go ahead.
I thought it was a Christmas ornament gone wrong. I didn't understand until she talked that it was supposed to be an earring. It looked like, one of those like terrible like Christmas ornaments that you get as a present from like the dollar bin. And so I didn't understand what a Christmas ornament had to do with the little black dress. And then she explained it and I was like, this is too much explanation for this.
I didn't dislike Utica's. I didn't like, they kind of like trashed it. We couldn't see the earring, but I was just like, okay. I mean, I hadn't seen, she was the last person. I hadn't seen anybody else come up there with anything fascinating. She was the only thing that actually caught my eye, in my opinion. Exactly. So I was like, okay, sure. But
she was going like this. Like if you go back and look, she keeps like, and it's hard to see. And I didn't really know what she was doing at first, but when you watch it back, she's going like this and showing the earrings. So I get it, but it's just, I loved it. I thought it was, I don't know. I just thought it was so creative. I think, I mean, what do you guys think? Like Tamisha and Olivia and Elliot, I would put those all kind of together because they all kind of just did some sort of black dress. It's like, well, what do you do? What do you, how do you elevate this? Do you just wear a black dress and make everything else? I don't know. It would be interesting.
So what did you guys think about Simone's? Because Simone had something black-ish dress. What were you guys' thoughts on hers?
I don't even remember it. I'm like,
through my notes. RuPaul reference.
Yeah.
I did say I appreciated the hair because I liked the construction of the hair. I don't actually remember it.
I remember she was very, very, very oily. She had a lot of oil on. I was like, I mean, I get it, but Jesus. Yeah. Like at this point, she was like, I want to know who oils her because she's not getting her back. I can't even get my back when I put lotion on. So like she was oiled down, but the dress was okay. Like, I don't know, like the hair, I think the hair was more than a dress to me. And it was not about the hair, but yeah.
It was interesting, but I will say I love Simone. Yeah. But everything is her a reference. It's a reference for, she's always a reference. Like and I guess that's cool coming from a cosplayer. Like, hello, I try to do cartoon characters, but I don't know. I want a little bit more about like I want Simone to make something or come out in something that's a little bit more original. That's like my one critique, and I know that's controversial because I love Simone. All the Simone fans are going to come for me, but it's always a reference. Has anyone else caught that? It's always a reference, and I love Simone, but I want to see her come out in something that's like a Simone original.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be do-rag one out there in the universe. Until we learned that other people had done it, in fashion. But I still feel like the do-rag thing felt original to her, the one with the do-rag with the train.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and I agree. Well,
I love Simone. Don't get me wrong. We'll see next week.
I've said this is why I have an issue with impersonators. Like, I don't hate impersonators, let me just say that, but to me, impersonations is recreating something that's already been done and trying to imitate it perfectly, making it look duplicate to that. I personally like doing stuff that's me, that's unique to me, that, maybe references something every once in a while or inspires me to do something. But I know exactly what you're saying. And I'll say this because I skipped over it earlier, but I'll bring it up now because Ru says in the workroom, sometimes perfect is boring. And I feel like sometimes that's what happens with these girls that's why I like rough around the edges. That's why I don't want it to be perfect. I love LaLa Ri, and I think that's why I love hers because she is what drag has always been to me. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's authentic to who she is, So I don't know. I agree with you.
In the sense too that, Mark, there's a lot of queens who these days, I mean, they all have outfits being made for them, which when you look at someone like Tamisha, I mean, maybe when I'm not that old, but when I grew up around drag, it was always like queens having to make outfits for themselves. So you look at someone like Tamisha, and to me, I have so much respect for the fact that you are making your own outfits because you're choosing. I mean, I know that you have a say in what kind of outfits you want to wear, but you were really, really choosing your aesthetic there. Whereas like in some of these, yeah, it's easy to say you look gorgeous in a pre-planned aesthetic, but there's a lot of love that has to go into making your own outfit.
Let me just read this comment real quick because I didn't catch this. Japple says he loved the double meaning of Simone's dress because it was a black dress. Because referencing Rue's song about the roots. I didn't get that till just now.
I'm still not impressed with that.
Okay.
Like, because I feel like I get it, but it's just like, okay. Like,
you get it though when she did it? Did you get that that's what she was doing?
Maybe after the second watch, I was like, okay, but I mean, you know, like Ollie said, a reference. It's like at some point, it's like, do we have to always think like, okay, what is this? You know, paying homage to? What is the similarity? It's always something. I like. Sometimes things can be a little literal. I feel like the queens nowadays, they want to, you know, give so much to think about, and it's like that's where it goes wrong sometimes because the judges will get that, and sometimes they won't. And then Jackie, when you were saying about the making clothes, I do value, you know, queens that can make their own clothes, but I also think it's a hindrance, especially for like Tamisha, because she does make her own clothes, but obviously that kind of hinders her in kind of elevating her style in her fashion. I think that's I feel like she should continue to make her own garments, but it wouldn't hurt to have someone else design other things for her too. I think it should be a good blend, especially for Drag Race, because your eye versus other eyes can be, you know, it can be very different. And the other girls like Simone, if she probably made her own things, maybe she'd have something a little bit more, you know, to it than just what she presents. Because I think doesn't like what's her name? Mom make her clothes. What's her name? What's the previous queen name?
Gigi Good.
Gigi
Good's mom like make her clothes with some of her things.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it, and I think that's the trick with Drag Race. I mean, unless they want you to win.
Yeah.
Is that because then it doesn't matter what you bring because they're gonna blow smoke up your butt anyway. But I get what you're saying, and you do. I love, you know, I think one of the other queens that I felt like got a really bad rap on the show was Sugarcane, because she was one of the queens, even though she wasn't really known as a fashion queen, I always looked forward to seeing what she was going to do. Whether it was good or bad, I always knew it was going to be a little different than everybody else. I knew. And so that's why I like Utica, because I know that when she comes out, it's going to be her own individual take on something. Yeah. It's not going to look cookie cutter. It's not going to look like every time, like Denali to me is like the same thing. Rosé, I'm seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And I get that it's like a nuance, like keeping true to yourself, but giving them something new, you know, is always hard, but you wanted to play the game?
Well, last thing I'll say is that I even like Evie Oddly, who, like, if you think about it, Evie kind of like, I think she made a lot of looks. She didn't have a designer making every single thing for it, like every single, I don't know, the list.
Jada
the
made a lot of her looks too. Someone in the chat mentioned that as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, and then Evie, going back to Evie, she was kind of like critiquing this season of like, oh my gosh, like I wonder how many times I'm going to see this designer like week after week, you know? So I don't know. So there is this thing of like, man, I wish some of these queens would just be like a little bit more creative on their own. And I know like you don't want to come on the runway in the same thing as another queen. That's a huge possibility that you have to take in consideration also when you're coming up with your looks. So yeah, like that's why I agree. Like I love Utica because it is so original. It is like no one's gonna come out in like a Utica look.
No,
you know.
Never.
So I agree.
She'll be inspiration for runways, like Milk was. You know, she's gonna do things that you're just like, oh my god, I want to see every queen try and do that now. You know what I mean? Like that's what is exciting about her. I think we did say this in this discussion, but someone in the chat room is saying that they thought hypocritical that they're saying that Utica is too campy, yet letting Tina get away with everything that she's gotten away with. I agree 1,000%. I think one of you guys did say that while we were discussing it, but I just wanted to point that out.
I agree.
Well,
also, I just want to mention in the chat, Kandy's was my bottom dress of the week because I don't know. I didn't read that as little black dress. I get the concept behind it, but it just seemed kind of messy to me. I don't know. It really just, it was not, I just didn't see it as really fitting the challenge. So, and I think that in some instances, it's like, sometimes you'll have these extra things that you think maybe I can do without that. It's like she had the dress and then she was holding another dress. I'm like, I don't know why you need to hold this other dress. So
yeah. So
maybe a paint can. Like if she held a paint can, maybe I would have liked.
That'd be cute.
That would have been better. I understand holding a duplicate of the dress she was already wearing. Like that didn't make any sense to me. So I mean, I was looking at my list, like, I don't really know who I would put in the top if it was just based on the runway. But here's who Ru chose. Her tops were Elliott, Tina, and Olivia. Bottoms were Kandy, Utica, and Tamisha. Olivia ended up winning. And Kandy and Tamisha, to finish the storyline from last week, were in the bottom two. And I think the best part of this episode was Blue Cantrell Hit 'Em Up Style as the lip sync song, because this queen squealed from her couch when that song came on. That was my shit. I love that song. So I thank you, RuPaul's Drag Race, for that, because I have been listening to it on a loop since it aired. And unfortunately, our Tamisha Iman sashayed away. Just some other odds and ends things from like our mirror moments and Untucked, things that kind of happened as well. Olivia talks about how she used to be almost 300 pounds, which is crazy to me. How she got turned away from a ride at an amusement park because she was so big. But her mother helped her lose weight after she was diagnosed being obese, and put her on a strict diet. And she said theater and drag helped her turn everything around. So that was a nice kind of Olivia moment, you know, foreshadowing, I guess, what was to come on the runway with her win. We had our first video message from Gottmik's parents, and they used her chosen name of Cade, which was a big thing for her, and I guess for the trans community is when they, you know, use their name, which is good. Again, I think that it's good that these are out there. There are people who are talking about it, that, you know, all that stuff. Then I'm going to take a moment now, because we talked a little bit about Kandy and Tamisha and stuff, but I just want to point out, like, Kandy also got very opened up about her mom being in and out of jail, and that a lot of the reason she blew up, that this was the old Kandy, and that she's been trying really hard to not be that Kandy, and she's mad at herself that she let herself explode and blah, blah, blah. I guess it's a matter of whether it's that, or if it's, I realized I messed up last week and I need to kind of cover my bases. I mean, I don't know that she's that strategic and saying, well, maybe I'll talk about this today to make him feel sorry for me, but I don't know. And then she seemed to have a really hard time grasping why she was in the bottom. She just kept saying, well, it was because of my jumpsuit and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, you just really weren't that good. And like, I feel like that's part of her delusion, is she genuinely isn't hearing what they're saying. And same with what Tamisha said to them. You know, she blew everything out of proportion. She twists everything around and she hears the things that she wants to hear. And I don't know. And then like the ending of the fight was just kind of like, days have gone by, I'm over it.
Yeah. I say what I
I
say.
feel like they probably had some sort of, they're all quarantined in the same hotel, so they probably had some sort of conversation over it. And maybe, part of me thought maybe Kandy told her in that conversation, well, I had this really tough upbringing, and it's made me react to certain things this way or whatever. And then Tamisha maybe understood where she was coming from. Maybe that's me also plugging in lines, but I guess that's kind of what I extrapolated from all of that.
Yeah. So Jose Almeida in the chat, just talking about Kandy's mirror moment. Somebody in the chat says it's too late for Kandy's to be all, feel sorry for me. Jose says that it's not fair. She deserves an opportunity to share her story as much as everyone, even if you don't like her. I don't think that she shouldn't be allowed to tell her story. I just think, I don't know that it just seems maybe a little contrived to me. Like, it seems like backpedaling because she realizes she kind of made herself look bad last week. Because I'm sure she went back to her room and was like, oh my gosh, they're going to edit that. Everyone's going to be talking about this or that.
We'll have to see next week, right? It's like,
right. We'll see as the season goes on, if she stays like that.
Yeah, well, somebody else in the chat says, let's see if being in the bottom two humbles Kandy. And I guess we'll see. Maybe she'll make a 180. We'll all have a completely different opinion of her next week or 2 weeks later from now. I highly doubt it, but we'll see. So that was the episode. What was that? We done it. Next week is Improv for Your Life on the Bossy Rossi After Dark show with special guest judge, a new one, Miss T.S. Madison will be in the house next week. At this time, if there's something you guys want to ask, write it in the chat room right now. I'll check back in a little bit. We'll try to answer those questions if we can. I will do my quote of the week. And I think Jackie is going to love this. And I think in honor of the departure of the queen of the Iman dynasty, that I couldn't let her final episode not contain a Tamisha Iman quote. And hopefully it will be on a t-shirt one day for Miss Jackie to buy. Quote of the week is, I said what I said.
I'm waiting for that t-shirt.
I know. I think that's gonna sell out. So buy it right away.
But she's gonna have some issues because that's really Nene's line. So if she makes, I don't know if Nene has a trademark, but if she goes and try to make some money off of that, it's gonna be a big fan base battle because Drag Race fans are probably gonna think, oh, she started that, but really she didn't. But
See, I don't watch the show, so I didn't know that was a thing. So.
I didn't know that was a Nene thing.
Yeah.
That is Nene leaks.
I do want to give an honorable mention quote to Carson for referencing the Eleanor Roosevelt low pony, which is now like my new favorite reference to a low pony is the Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh my gosh.
Jackie, who are our fans of the week?
So it's funny because Mark, you mentioned one of them already, McAwesome Guy 101. I love the name, so I thought that's a great name. So you're one of the fans of the week because it's a cool name. And he said congrats on the 200 subscribers. Yeah. And then we have also Jenny Lee Villanueva, who is a new subscriber. So thank you for being a new subscriber.
And I want to give a shout out to Magenta Fox on Twitter, because when I tweeted, I said, please retweet for us to get the word out about the show, because we love when there's new people that join us and come in and they didn't know we were around, or they found us after years away from Afterbuzz and stuff. So please, it really does help us if you guys share and retweet. We did get to 200 subscribers, but wouldn't 300 be cool by the end of season 13? Just saying. Tell your friends.
And we thank you guys. I'm just personally thanking you guys for being so patient with us. We're clearly not a group of engineers. So if you don't know, if you didn't follow us from Afterbuzz TV, we used to be hosts on Afterbuzz TV. They're on a hiatus. We decided to continue the show even despite their hiatus. And so this is us on our own trying to figure out how to be engineers. So we appreciate your patience.
Yeah, agreed. Just some news and gossip is pretty much the same. I always say, because I am falling in love with Drag Race UK more and more every week. Ollie can attest to this. It's so good. And if you don't have WoW Presents Plus, please invest in it and go back, watch season 1 if you didn't watch season 1, and then watch season 2. There's something, I feel like Drag Race UK, you get the bitchiness, but there isn't that hostility behind it. It's more like drag queen, like what me and Raven do backstage. You know what I mean? Like, it's not us yelling at each other and telling each other to, to go to hell. It's just this fun banter kind of thing. It's just so much fun. So if you haven't, please do it. Don't forget to vote for Jayla Roxx. I think we still have some.
Oh, the queerties, yes.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the bio again. I put it in last week. I'll put it again this week. So if you can't find it, she's been Instagramming it. She's not on Twitter, but she's been Instagramming it. I retweeted it. If you're on Twitter, you can go to my Twitter and find. And please vote for Raven too for Drag Royalty. Thank you very much. I have a couple people on my Twitter if you want to vote for all the people that I voted for. And yeah, so let me look at does anybody, Tez, do you have a new something?
Yeah, I post my recaps between Saturday and Monday whenever I can get to it. So it'll be up tomorrow. But yes, you can check out my channel. There's actually a very special segment coming, and I will not announce it yet, but I think y'all will be in for a treat.
Oh, yeah.
So yes,
yeah.
I have to wait before I announce it, but it's very nice.
I do. I have a little surprise, hopefully, coming to later in the season. I've mentioned it to you guys privately, so I'm working on something. So keep your fingers crossed that we'll have a little surprise later in the season. A quick question we have a little bit of time. Okay. A quick question, and I did forget to talk about Lala, because I felt like Lala did really well in the challenge. Like, if you're looking at embodying disco, I really felt she should have been in over Tina.
Yeah.
Way before Rosé or Denali, just because I felt like Lala nailed it. I thought she looked great. I loved her look. So I think that, so they're asking, was Lala not in the top because of her look? I thought she ate the performance. I'm just trying to understand if that was the criteria. How was Tina there? The judging this week felt gaslighting.
We don't know. We don't know is the answer. We don't know, because we would have put Lala in the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to convince us. We are 1000% there with you. How did you feel about Drag Race UK lip sync? Well, this isn't a Drag Race UK episode, so we're not going to talk about that here. But I'm sure I tweeted about it, so you can check mine and Allie's Twitter handles. I'm sure one of us have discussed the Drag Race UK lip sync. And don't forget to vote for Ru for the NAACP Image Award. Thank you for Prince in Porto for telling me that. Yes, please do. There was also, I saw something and I couldn't get all the information. ET Live is doing something for Black History Month, and Ru is a part of it. I was trying to get more information on their website before we went live, and I couldn't find it. It was a commercial on my Hulu, so or on the VH1. I was watching the show, and it came up as a commercial. So keep an eye out for it if you're rewatching the episode, because Ru's going to be a part of that as well. Any predictions of who will go home next week?
Denali, maybe Lala. I don't know. No.
Jacque Borosski, any ideas?
I feel I like Elliot a lot, but I feel it might be Elliot, because even when she's doing well, they seem to not like her. If that makes sense.
It's an improv challenge too, don't forget.
Yeah, and I don't know about her acting skills. I don't know how strong she'll be.
In that case, I'm definitely worried for Lala, because if the last acting challenge that they had, I'm definitely worried. So yes, I'm gonna say her, or maybe Denali Steele.
Yeah, I say both of them did bad last time. Ollie?
Yeah, God. I don't know. Hopefully not someone from the B squad because it's just like this self-fulfilling prophecy. But we'll see. So if it's acting, yeah, probably someone who did bad in acting before. So maybe Elliot, or I could see maybe Elliot or Denali. We'll see.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all of you. All right, Tez has got to go to a Super Bowl party. We're peacing out. We will be back next Sunday, 3 o'clock, to recap the 7th episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. Thank you guys. Tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias. Let's start with the anatomical lady of the group, Jacque Borosski.
At 123 Jackie B on all platforms.
And Ollie.
At Ollie Dreamer on all platforms.
And Tez.
At Stupid Wild Tez, or at the Lean Blog on Instagram. And Twitter, I won't give that away. You can find me on Twitter too.
You can find his on mine because I tag him and shit all the time.
Yeah.
If you're real.
Still tagging you, Tez.
I hunted him down and found him. And you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at the Mark J. Freeman, or you can follow Lorayne when she's cross-dressing at Lorayne Love, Lorayne Love. Thank you all for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share this, and try and get us, let's aim for 300. Come on, let's do 300 by the end of season 13. Let's do it. We can do it. Love you guys. Mwah! Have a good Super Bowl Sunday.